Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Sandeman Street Podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. I'm Andrew, and today I'm joined by my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are you?
Good, mate, how are you?
Well, after this weekend I've been better. I think I'm going to be a bit grumpy on today's podcast, to be honest with you.
Nothing changes then?
Well, yeah, you could say that, but everything that could have possibly went wrong sporting-wise for me this weekend went wrong. But we'll not dwell on that. This week, Jack, I think we'll start with United, considering that they had the positive result this week. 3-1 victory over St Mirren.
Yep.
A result not to be sniffed at, considering St Mirren are one of the stuffier sides in the league. They're one of the better sides in the league on their day. What's your thoughts on that?
I think we're probably lucky to come away with a win. St Mirren had something like 23 shots on goal, 12 corners. To be fair, only 3 of them were on target of the shots. So I think we did get lucky. Obviously, we'll discuss some of the decisions made later on. But I think you've got to be happy with the result. You'll always take a 3-1 win against St Mirren. Obviously, the goal we concede is sloppy. It's poor from Kucherenko. He should try and tip over the bar. I don't know if he's been caught out by the sun or whatnot, but he doesn't deal with it well and paras it right into the head of the St Mirren player. So that's a poor goal to lose. But overall, like I say, mate, well, like you say, St Mirren are a stuffy team, hard to break down sometimes. I think the red card for Gogic certainly helps us as well. Be it all in all, the only Dundee team not to let anyone down today, so pretty good result.
Well, that's very true. But what we'll do is we'll run through in kind of a chronological order of the key events of the match. So, as you say, St Mirren go 1-0 up in the first half with a bit of a scruffy goal. Is probably the best way to describe it. I think we'll not dwell too much on Kucherenko's mistake. We've spoken previously about him. He's just going to be one of the goalies where you're just going to accept that he's going to make mistakes like that. He does make up for it with good reactionary saves. He's a decent enough shot stopper, so he's going to make good saves through the season, but he's going to have a few of them throughout the season just because of how erratic he is, but especially with cross balls. You've got that to start with. The equaliser, though, quite a good free kick, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it takes it well. I think United set up well for it. I think they put a couple of boys on the wall just to throw the keeper off, and when Statsford hits it, they walk out the way, get out of the way of the shot. And he does well, hits it low, and Shamal George doesn't have time to react to it. So yeah, he took it really well.
It certainly bamboozled the keeper, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not wanting to dwell too much on the decisions by the referee because we're going to have a section of ref watch this week. But I think it was about 5 minutes of regulation time to go. United get their penalty. Cooley tucked away by Fata. And I was listening to Goodwin on the radio on Sunday. I was listening to Saturday's kind of Radio Scotland, kind of the show that they do after 5:30. I was listening to that back yesterday on the drive through to Edinburgh. Goodwin was saying in his post-match interview that he was happy about him considering that he was the player that missed against Vienna. Yeah,
I did think that it's good to see him scoring. I don't think it's a good penalty, to be honest with you. I think keeper guesses the right way. It goes down as an absolute horrendous penalty. So it's not a good penalty, but it's a good goal. Like, keeper goes the wrong way, it's a goal. You take it, and as you say, he was the player that missed against Rapid Vienna. So I think he's got a bit of redemption about him now. He's made up for himself. He can clearly score a penalty at least. So that's good to see that he was confident enough to step up to the spot and take it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how old is he? In the early 20s, maybe?
Yeah, 23, maybe.
Yeah, so a young laddie coming over here. Where's he from? Is this the guy that's on loan from Troyes in France?
Yeah. So he's Swedish. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, shows a bit of character about him, I suppose, to go for a penalty with 5 minutes to go at 1-1. So yeah, definitely fair play to the laddie. Obviously, the game was closed out late on with another great strike from Sybil. Two goals in 2 weeks for him, and 2 crackers at that.
Yeah, mate. His finishes recently have been class, so hopefully long may it continue.
Well, certainly from a United point of view, you'll be hoping for that. All in all, though, as I said at the top of the show, or the, as I said at the top of the podcast, the the result against St Mirren is you'll never sniff at that. They're always a good result. Stephen Robinson, obviously my favourite man in the world, sets up his sides well. They've always got good players, and it's ironic. I think that we were speaking about Gogic last week and basically throwing praise at him, and he's the man that gets sent off. As I said, we'll obviously touch on that in a wee bit later on. But all in all, I'm sure you'll be happy with that victory.
Of course, mate. You're always going to be happy with a win, and to win by 2 goals as well, helps the goal difference, and it could help us down the line further into the season. So you're always going to take it.
And I think I'm right in saying that at the closing play of the weekend's card, that's United now sitting in 4th place on, I think it's 13 points.
Yeah.
What do you make of United's start so far? It's been a bit here and there, hasn't it? What do you think of their start, and where do you think they can go this season?
I mean, I see people praising them because we're in 4th place, but to be honest, I don't think we've been that impressive. I think that was only our 3rd win of the season out of 11 fixtures, maybe. So it's poor. The form's not been great, but the rest of the league's been poor as well. So you can't really complain too much about it. For the season, I think you've got to expect top 6 again, and especially with Aberdeen and Rangers being so poor so far this season, I think you've got to give yourself that chance. You've got to You've got to be confident that you can get a top 6, possibly Europe again, depending how the rest of the running is for the season. But yeah, I think top 6 is bare minimum expectations, and Europe's obviously going to be much appreciated.
Yeah, I think given the start that like your Aberdeen have, and obviously I think at the beginning of every season, clubs out with the big 5 are looking for one of them at least to have a bit of a mare, and then you can then take their place in the top 6. I think I'm right in saying that it's still 5 teams this season who get a European place. So with United sitting in 4th position, you really should be targeting a European place, in my opinion, especially given that everybody seems to be beating everyone. So if you show any sort of consistency, you'll be right up there.
Yeah, that seems to be our problem, though. We don't seem to be very consistent. So we've just got to hope that Goodwin can make them a bit more consistent and pick up more results consistently. And well, it should hopefully see us reach Europe, but it's still early days in the league. Still, teams getting used to each other, new players getting used to each other, seeing how other teams play, and trying to take advantage of that. So, yeah, like you say, Europe should be expected, should be achieved, but there is still a long way to go.
So United have certainly been one of the better teams I've seen this season. I'm pretty sure I've seen every team now, bar Hearts. And to be honest with you, I've not really been that impressed with anybody, in all honesty. I think Hibs played away alright against us at the beginning of the season, but they didn't really need to be that great. They scored their 2 goals pretty much from Dundee mistakes. Dundee got a goal back, and then Dundee were at that stage where they weren't really pressing Hibs, and Hibs just kind of seen the result out. But there's not been like a standout team I've seen this season. Obviously, we've got a result away at Ibrox. We've got a victory against Celtic. Those are the 2 teams at the beginning of every season who you're thinking are going to be the best teams. And I've not seen Hearts who have been flying. So I think every team, I know that you're typically expecting Celtic and Rangers at some point to string results together and kind of kick on. So then you're looking at the other 10 teams, obviously take Dundee out of that, the other 9 teams, and you're thinking who's the best out of the lot of them. It's obviously not great for me to say as a Dundee supporter, but he probably would be United. There's not many other teams. I mean, I know that I come on here and I take the mick a bit about Motherwell Madrid and all that sort of thing. Yeah, they passed the bar, but I mean, it wasn't like they were chance after chance after chance against Dundee and they were battering us and we managed to sneak a 1-1 draw. So you've got them. Livy, I didn't think were very great. We'll obviously go on to Falkirk in a minute. Played them at the weekend. I didn't think they were great. Who else? You've got Kelly. Didn't think they were great. I've spoken a wee bit about Hibs. I think they've got the potential to get there. I think they'll maybe get a wee bit better as the season progresses. Aberdeen obviously battered us, but I think it was a mixture of them being good on the day and us kind of complementing that. And is there anyone else I've missed? St Mirren, another game that wasn't a great game to watch, and they sneaked the 1-0 win. So they've probably missed a team or two there, but it's a wide open league this season. As I say, everybody seems to be beating everyone, and I think if any teams show any level of consistency, I mean, you look at Hearts, they've taken 27 points, 24 points from 27 I think it is. That's a high level of consistency that only really Celtic and Rangers you'd expect to match that. If you're showing any sort of level of consistency, you're going to be right in with a chance of European football this season, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that's generally the rule for most seasons. If you're consistent, you pick up the results along the way that you should be winning, then you're going to get Europe. Like you say, most teams haven't been that impressive. I didn't think Hearts were particularly impressive against us when we played them. Yes, they beat us, but all three of their goals were set pieces, which poor defending on our part, really. So, yeah, it just depends how you play on the day, how the other team shows up. And so far, it's been quite an even league. So it'll be interesting to see how the season progresses. If there is some consistency there that we can maintain. Otherwise, I think if we don't get that consistency, then it could be a long season, to be honest.
It's certainly a more fascinating league this season. It's always good when most of the teams are at the same level and you kind of got a league similar to the Championship where 7-8 teams are usually similar, and then it's anyone's guess who's going to win each week. But we'll move on. As I say, I'm a wee bit grumpy. Dundee at Falkirk on Saturday. Where do you start, really? I mean, first half they were all right. The game in general was poor. That's the one thing I will say. The overall quality of the match was not great. Dundee go 1-0 up through Clark Robertson. I think he's now our top goal scorer with 2
Another
goals.
corner, by the way.
Another corner. They seem to have figured out some sort of routine with Digby doing a bit of blocking, and it's freeing up Clark Robertson. That's two headers in 2 weeks from corners where he's been completely unmarked.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously doing something in training that's contributing to that. Had a couple of chances. I think Murray had a chance at 0-0, which, can he do better? He kind of scuffed it a bit with his left foot. They had their penalty claim, which we'll touch on at Ref Watch, and there was another one that's just completely left my brain. But yeah, Dundee were probably the better team in the first half. Falkirk had a lot of the ball. Dundee probably had the better of the chances, but they go on at 1-0 and then they come out and it's just fall to bits. Right from kick-off, Falkirk were the better team. Kraken has a mistake which then ends up in 2 or 3 passes later with Calvin Miller hitting the bar. The crowd are then up at that point and they get their equaliser. It's a poor goal for Dundee to lose. You've got 2 boys coming out of the back post. The first one pins to the right. Ryan Astley probably should swap with Dre Wright and he should take him and Dre Wright should take the man further at the back post. So just a lack of communication there. First man pins Dre Wright so that he can't really affect the clearance. The boy comes in behind him, zips the ball back across, and Clark Robertson, I didn't really blame him, to be honest. He's got to do something because McIver's right behind him and he puts it in his own net. It's one of the ones where it's unfortunate. I played defence when I played at a very poor level. I mean, I played Sunday League, but those things can happen, and I sympathise with it given that that's the position that I played when I played at a level of football no place near where he's playing. The game then kind of goes in Falkirk to hit the post. I think Stephen Presley, the subs he made, I think did kind of help get us back into it. I'm really not convinced on the boy Aqua. I would have rather he had brought on Ashe, but I understand that they're two different types, and he was obviously looking for Aqua to kind of bully, getting about and hold the ball in, bully it. Aqua's 6'4", and it doesn't really seem to be his game. I don't know what his game is. you look at him and you think it's like a bit like St Mirren, right? So St Mirren have got Ayunga and Mandron, and you think to yourself that neither of them are going to score 15, 20 goals a season, but they're effective in their own ways, and they'll still grab a handful of goals each season. But probably the main asset for them to the team is that they're bringing everyone else around them into the game, and they're getting goals from midfield. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't bring anybody into the game. He doesn't score goals. I mean, it was a wee bit harsh maybe saying he's don't score goals when it's October and he's on a 3-year deal. But it's a difficult one. I don't want to go over the top in the criticism of him. At the same time, I'm thinking he's going to hate to start showing something when he comes off the bench, because we're relying far too much on Simon Murray, and he's no fit. He brings on Callum Jones, he brings on Tony Ugan. Tony Ugan was starting to look quite dangerous down the right hand side. He brings on Jan Danda. Jan Danda was looking okay, and then the score a goal. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen the highlights, Jack, because I have asked you to watch them. The goal is a minter. It's an absolute embarrassment of a goal. I mean, for a start, I know that we've exhausted this argument before. The bounce on the plastic pitch is a joke.
The bounce wipes out 4 Dundee players.
Yeah, 3 or 4 Dundee players totally out the match because of one bounce because of the Asturf pitch. Now, I know that could happen to either team, so to say that it's an advantage to Falkirk, given that they play on it every week and whatever, understanding that scenario, it's not really an advantage to Falkirk. They'll have the advantage of what has happened, but the overall, to say it's an advantage to Falkirk in that specific incident isn't really a fair thing to say. But I mean, if that's on grass, that doesn't happen. Right, so then the boy then runs through. The boy then gets obviously on the ball. Questionable handball.
I don't think it is.
Is it his shoulder? Is it his arm?
I think it's probably his shoulder, but
it's a debatable, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right. He then gets the ball. Nobody near him. One, because the bounce has wiped out Dundee's midfield pretty much, and two, players are out of position. He runs towards the box. Luke Graham, who has been very good this season, I don't know what he's doing. He backs off. This is one of my pet hates with defenders. Back off, yeah, but see, as soon as you know that you're about to enter your box, you stop. And if you bring him down, you're not giving away a penalty. But then what happens is he backs off into his box and he can't tackle him now. He puts in a non-tackle, just kind of falls to the ground. The boy walks past him. Clark Robertson comes in. Clark Robertson's in his early 30s, I think. He's got bags of experience. Played for Aberdeen. He's played down south for years. He's played abroad, and he dives in. He should have the experience in that scenario to just stand. Because as soon as he dives in, the boy rolls his studs over the ball. And look, I'm not taking anything away from the boy's goal. There's a cracking goal for a young centre half, and fair play to the boy. It was a good goal, but so avoidable.
I think you're getting Dundee a bit too much criticism, if I'm being honest. From my point of view, I think the players done really, really well. Yes, the ball's wiped out your attack, and probably a bit of your midfield as well with the bounce. And to be honest, I think if you get that ball, you're going to create a chance, and you could score from that. But It doesn't happen. The defender then picks the ball up, drives at Dundee's defence. Yeah, Graham probably retreats a wee bit too far. Defender cuts inside, fakes a shot. Robertson buys it, slides in, and then he taps home with his other foot. I think the defender does really well, mate. It's a really good goal. I was thoroughly impressed by it, and when I seen it, I thought it was almost purely from the players making, to be honest with you. But I can see where you're coming from. It's obviously disappointing to lose it at that late in the game as well. So
yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I didn't get us wrong, and I've said this already. The young lad, he's a centre half. Well, I think he's a midfielder actually, but he's playing centre half, and he's taken his goal very well. He's done very well for it, and taken nothing away from it. But you can give the praise for him, but also give the criticism for the Dundee players. If they do their job properly, he's not scoring there.
But yeah, that's true.
He's it's poor defending for the two centre halves. But it's just the typical Dundee. I mean, I come on this podcast last week, obviously full of excitement and stuff because we're beating Celtic. First time Dundee beat Celtic in however long, and then we went through to our score predictions. And what was it I said to you? I think I maybe said this off podcast, but I maybe did touch on it on podcast. I can't remember. And we're doing our score predictions, and everyone thinking, "Oh, Dundee, we're tipping Dundee to win that game." You see, as a Dundee supporter, you knew that Dundee get beat on Saturday. It's just typical Dundee. They get a great result and they go away to Falkirk. And I remember 2 weeks ago we were going over Dundee's next 4 games, and it was Celtic, Falkirk, Hearts, Rangers, and you were saying, would you take 4 points? And I was like, bite your hand off for 4 points. In reality, they should have the 4 points.
Yeah.
But Dundee do Dundee things. It doesn't matter who the manager is, it doesn't matter who the players are, they'll always be like that. It's just soul destroying to watch. And I would imagine that you're probably going to want me to touch on the whole Scott Bain fiasco. He was getting the Alan Main treatment. I've not seen a goalie get the stick like that since Alan Main years ago, but I didn't really quite get it, to be honest with you, because when Scott Bain left Dundee, I was always under the impression it was because he fell out with McCann. I didn't really know why he gets the level of abuse that he gets, but maybe somebody can enlighten me on that. But it's like the pantomime stuff, the booing and everything like that.
What about the boy jumping on the pitch?
Yeah, that obviously, to begin with, it was the pantomime stuff. He came out for the second half, he was running towards the away end for the first time in the afternoon, and he was getting the pantomime boos and whatever. Well, Dundee were 1-0 up at the time. And then the equaliser was probably about 10 minutes in the second half, and he runs over and celebrates and stuff, whatever. Fair enough, like, if you can give it out, you need to take it. And at the second goal they scored, he does like the thing where I think people call it like the salmon, when he ran over and he jumped with his arms like pinned to his side and fell to the ground. I was more offended by that than anything else. But I mean, I just got out of my seat and left purely because as I've gotten older, you see the stuff like that used to bother me into like the week, and I'd be miserable and stuff like that. Now I'm still, obviously I'm not upset about it as such, but I'm still like a bit peed off by it, but I can get over it now. Like, I come on here and I'll speak about it and I'll get the emotions going and the juices will start flowing and stuff like that, but in general day-to-day life I'll not be bothered. But the reason why I got up and left, and the reason, like, people who say to me, like, people who like to stay to the end, the bitter end, they'll always ask me, like, why do you leave matches when you're getting horsed, or like when that happens there's still a few minutes to go and blah blah blah. Like, I'd rather be out of the ground than out of that environment, or it just gets on my nerves. So like Scott Bain's running around and you've got these wee boys at the front trying to get Tom and everything, I'm just wanting out of that environment.
Yeah.
But no, I don't condone the boy running on the pitch. I don't condone the missiles being thrown. I think that's totally unacceptable. And I just said a couple of minutes ago, if you're going to give the boy abuse, and you need to be prepared to take it back.
Yeah.
And I mean, what is he doing? Cupping his ears and shouting "fuck you"? I mean, really?
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world, is it?
No, exactly.
No.
Could be a lot worse.
But yeah, a disappointing one for Dundee. And I mean, obviously, I just touched on what we touched on a few weeks ago there when I was saying like it was the fixtures were Celtic, Falkirk, and we're at Hearts, and then we've got Rangers. But you could go beyond that. I think beyond that is Hibs away, St Mirren at home, Aberdeen at home. Now, Hibs away, we've no won there in 20 odd year. St Mirren's never an easy game, as we've discussed already. And then Dundee didn't beat Aberdeen, so there's how many points you. By the time we get to the middle of December, we could be rooted. So, yeah, not looking good, and we really needed to at least get a point. I mean, Saturday there is a typical example of why Dundee can't get themselves in that league and stabilised. Like they always end up getting relegated because of games like that, where you've got yourself into the lead. Yeah, it'd be great to take that in and get 3 points. But if you've not gotten 3 points, take the point. Make sure that you didn't lose, because not only are you not losing, the team who's rummed about you are not winning.
True.
But Dundee, in true Dundee fashion, decide that nah, we're not going to do it that way. Anyway,
but I believe that win takes Falkirk up to 5th, mate. So
I know.
they're having a decent season so far.
And you know what, mate? They're absolutely shite.
Yeah.
See, I don't know what it is. It must be some algorithm or whatever word it is you use to describe how Twitter works. But I've never seen a Falkirk fan on Twitter on my puff. And ever since Saturday, all I've seen is Falkirk fans on Twitter. And honestly, you'd think Dundee were beaten by some fucking superstar outfit on Saturday. The way that they're going on about their team. My God. But anyway, we'll move on. The rest of the card from the weekend, obviously on Saturday we were United 3, St Mirren 1, Dundee 2, Falkirk 1 and Livy 1, Motherwell 2. On Sunday, Jack, big game, Hearts 3, Celtic 1. That's a big one, isn't it?
Hearts are going to win the league, mate.
Do you think so?
Celtic are poor. Unless Brendan Rodgers gets a sack, mate, I can honestly see it. And I think Hearts will throw money at it in January as well. So they could very well. 8 points clear already is a big gap. Obviously, they're probably not as consistent as Celtic historically, but what matters is what's happening this season. And this season, Hearts are near enough perfect, despite their performances not being great. They're still picking up the wins, so I don't see them slowing down anytime soon, to be honest.
No. I mean, to be fair, I do believe that it's more likely now that it's at 8 points than it did before Sunday. But I still think Celtic will win the league. But one thing I'll take away from that, right, and I know that it's totally like a negative way to look at it and stuff, right, but see if you were on the pitch with that Cammy Devlin, you'd never get sick and tired of kicking him, eh? He's a little dick, eh?
I don't know, I've never really paid attention to the boy.
He's a little prick. Anyway, other results. Aberdeen 1, Hibs 2 and Rangers 3, Kilmarnock 1. Now, we'll also go through the weekend's results in the Scottish Cup. I believe it was the second round. On Friday there was 2 games. Bo'ness Athletic 0, Linlithgow Rose 2 and Formartine United 0, Buckie Thistle 2. On Saturday, Auchinleck Talbot 3, Gretna 1, Bankside 4, Fraserburgh 0, Brecon 3, Dundonald Bluebell 1, Cali Braves 3, Stirling Albion 4 after extra time, Camelon Juniors 1, Johnstonborough 0, Clachmacudden 2, Sauchie Juniors 0, Clyde 2, Annan Athletic 3, Clydebank 3, East Stirlingshire 1, Cumbernauld Colts 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 2. One of our local teams, Dumbarton 2, Tayport 0, so an unfortunate defeat for Tayport, Jack. Yeah. Edinburgh City 1, Stirling Uni 0, Elgin City 2, Devon Vale 1, Musselburgh 1, Forfar 2, Nairn County 1, Turriff United 2, Spartans 2, East Kilbride 1, Sunrar 4, Glenafton Athletic 0, Wick Academy 1, Ben Burb 1, with Ben Burb going through 8-7 on penalties. And the game that we were wanting to speak about, which Jack, you attended,
I did,
was Trinent 3, Dundee North End 0. What was your thoughts on that from first-hand experience of being at the match?
First off, it was quite a nice ground actually. I didn't mind the ground at all. I just had the one stand, but it was a nice ground. But the match itself, I thought Trinent were the better team overall. I would say. I think North End were just resorting to kicking the ball up top, and when you're kicking the ball up top to Bobby Lynn against a defender who's about 6'3", then you're not going to get much going for you. Trinent get a penalty right at the end of the first half, which I think is really unfortunate. To be fair, we've talked about it off screen, off podcast, and it hits someone's hand. Whose hand it hits, we don't know, and that's what's slowing it down on the footage. How the ref can tell is anyone's guess, but he gives a penalty and they score it. Second half, North End are able to get one back, but it gets called for offside despite taking a deflection off a Trinent player. And I think it's the wrong call, to be honest. But it's not given, and then Trinent go up the pitch not long after, make it 2, and then they get another penalty after a good bit of play from their striker, and the Panenka into the back of the net, make it 3-0. So all in all, it's poor for Dundee North End. They beat them 4-0 last year. But it's still a good experience for them being in the Scottish Cup, obviously having the chance to play against teams in leagues above them. So all in all, it was a good day. Absolutely freezing though.
I mean, they certainly seem to be holding their own against what is a Lowland League side, and I mean, they're no mugs in the Lowland League either, Trinent.
No, I think they're fourth in the league or something, so they're clearly a decent team. And you've seen some of the boys did have good technical ability, but they're just a step above Dundee North End.
I know that North End are in that purely because they're the league champions, and obviously Lochee United and Tapor gain access to the cup because they have licence. I just wish that teams like North End and Broughty and Carnoustie, the teams that typically seem to be up the top of that league, would just get their licence. I know that it's a lot of money. I do understand that. So I could understand the reasons why as well. But I would love them to go out there and get their licences and try and get themselves up the league, because there's huge potential. I mean, North End have got a great setup.
Yeah, they do.
They've obviously got a really, really nice wee ground. They've got the clubby there. It's a great wee setup. Lochee United have got a good setup. Broughty have got a good setup. So, I mean, I could understand it even more when typically over the past few seasons the promotion route to the next step up in the pyramid for the Midland League teams was the Highland League, and they didn't want to be going all the way up to Wick and Brora and places like that. I could understand that, but with next season being the first season where it's going to change now, and you're going to have the Lowland League East and the Lowland League West, and the Dundee teams are going to go into the Lowland League East along with Brecon, then predominantly your North Ends, they teams are going to be, if they were to get promoted, they're only going to be playing against all the old junior teams for the East region anyway.
Yeah.
All the Edinburgh teams and the Fife teams and everything who left the juniors to go to the East of Scotland and in the Lowland League, they're all going to be in them leagues anyway. So they're just going to be playing against the same teams as they used to play against. So I think especially for a team like North End, who I don't know myself, but I'd imagine that they've probably made a fair bit of dough in their past couple of Scottish Cup runs, and it's obviously all relative, but they've made some money. Put some floodlights in and get your licence and get yourself the league. It'd be great to see. And
it would be good to see.
As I say though, I know that it does cost them a lot of money, and there isn't a lot of money going around at that level of Scottish football. So as I say, I totally understand it. But I'll just run through the third round draw now. This is the round before the Premier League teams come in, I think all the championship teams are in it now, though. But we'll run through that. So the first tie is Airdrie against Hamilton. They've got Annan against Buckie Thistle, Ayr United against Turriff United, Bankside Ross County, Ben Burb Montrose, Bonnyrigg Rose Spartans, Camelon Juniors Edinburgh City, Dumbarton Auchinleck Talbot, Dunfermline Queen of the South, East Fife Arbroath, Elgin City Stirling Albion, Forfar against Partick Thistle, Kelty Hearts Brecon City, Linlithgow Rose Queen's Park, Peterhead Greenock Morton, Wraith Rovers against Alloa, St Johnstone against Cove Rangers, Stenhousemuir Clachnacudden, Stranraer against Clydebank, and Trinent against Inverness. Now, Jack, any ties there that stick out for you?
I think Inverness Trinent will be a good game. Quite disappointing that it's not Dundee North End now. Dundee North End at home against Inverness. Wow. But I think Dumbarton Auchinleck will be a good game. I really like Auchinleck, to be honest. I think they are probably the best junior team in Scotland. So it'll be good to see how they do against a league opposition.
There's a couple of ties there that stand out for me. So you've got East Fife Arbroath, so that's Dick Campbell going up against his old side.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was Stranraer against Clydebank. I think that'll be tasty because Clydebank are flying in the Lowland League after promotion last season. Stranraer are not doing too well in the League Two, so a wee bit of an upset could be on the cards there.
Yeah, could be. Although Stranraer did win comfortably against, I think it was Camlon or Socky Juniors.
I think it was Glenafton.
Glenafton, sorry.
Yeah.
Glenafton are typically quite a good junior team. So that's a good result for Stranraer. But yeah, that'll be a good game. That'll be an interesting watch.
Mm-hmm.
And they're quite close as well, geography-wise. So yeah.
We'll move on, Jack. We're going to do ref watch now. We've not done this in a few weeks, but there's been a few decisions where I've had to introduce it there. But what we'll do is we'll start with United because we started the United game at the top of the podcast. We'll start with United St Mirren. There was a couple of decisions in this game that probably should be discussed in this category. The first one being the lead up to United's equaliser. The goalie was judged to have picked the ball up outside the box. What do you think?
I think, having watched it highlights, and obviously you have the privilege of slowing it down and reviewing it, I don't think the ball's 100% over the line. I think the ball's on the line, or at least some of it, so it's probably not a foul. But at pace, watching it first time, it looks like he's picked up outside the box and brought it in, and I can see why the refs gave it. VAR's not able to interfere in that decision. That's according to Sports Scene. That's what they were saying, that VAR can't interfere with anything like that. So it has to be the on-field decision, and the on-field decision was, it looked like to John Beaton that he's picked the ball up outside the box and brought it in. But having watched it, like I say, I haven't watched it myself, it probably isn't over the line, so it's probably not a free kick.
See, the thing is what you're saying there, there's an angle that was put on Twitter, I didn't see it on any of the highlights, and it was from like the one of the cameras that's not from the main broadcast camera. So I think it was the camera that's situated at the top of the fair play stand. It's obviously got a more inline view with the edge of the 18-yard line, and the ball is at least touching the 18-yard line. And if the ball's, as we always say, if it's on the line, it's in the box. When it's the other way around and somebody's fouled, if it's on the line, it's in the box. Now, what you're on about, when it's slowed down and everything, it's easier to kind of distinguish if it's there or there if it's not. And with it slowed down, you're probably arguing that it's in the box because it's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
When it's at pace, it's obviously a lot more difficult to distinguish that. Now, it's one of the ones where if you're no sure, you didn't give it.
That's true. Yeah.
If you're an official, because apparently the linesmen give that, if you're a referee or you're an assistant referee, you have to be 100%, especially when you're getting VAR to back you up because it's not within the protocols of VAR, you need to be 100% definite in your opinion that is outside the box. And you cannot tell me that the linesman is 100% there.
No, probably not.
So it's poor officiating as usual in
Yeah.
Scotland. We'll move on to the next one, which is the penalty. Now, apparently on Radio Scotland, Michael Stewart was absolutely fuming about this. I've sat and watched this penalty today, right? Numerous times from numerous angles. Obviously, you get all the different angles on the broadcast, the highlights, whatever. I've sat and watched YouTube, the SPFL YouTube highlights. I've watched Sports Scene. I can see why it's given, but it's one of the ones that I didn't even notice it when it first happened. Like I was just sat watching the highlights so that I could get myself up to date for doing this today, and I didn't actually realise that was the penalty until I was obviously then went to the VAR and whatever. I think it's harsh, but I could also see why it's given, and also, if Michael Stewart's been doing his dinging about it, I don't know why he's been doing his dinging about it, because it's one of the ones where you can give it and you can no give it, and it's about 6 and 2-3s really for me.
I don't really agree with you. I think it's a really bad tackle by Gogic, mate. It's high, it's dangerous. You're endangering the player, and that's a foul in itself. He's late for the ball. They're saying that he's tried to block the shot, but the ball's already away from Miller by the time he tackles him and hits him. So, I think it's a fair penalty, to be honest.
Look, I wouldn't argue against it, put it that way.
Yeah. And to be fair, John Beaton said it was one of the worst tackles he's seen, apparently. So,
did he?
Yeah, he said it was
horrendous. He never fucking seen it in the first place.
Well, yeah, I know. I think when he seen it on the screen, he was like, that was awful. Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. We were saying last week that Gogic gets away with murder. He didn't get away with that.
No.
Anyway, the Dundee one, I think we're kind of briefly going to discuss the handball from the cross in the second half. It's no penalty for me.
Nah, I don't think so either.
No, but the main one, the one in the first half, Jack, I mean, really.
Oh. Yeah, it's a penalty, mate.
It's laughable, eh?
There's no discussion about it. It's a penalty. The Falkirk player catches Ethan Hamilton in the thigh, and he goes down, and apparently that's a foul on the Falkirk player.
I'll tell you something. There's, in my opinion, there's two key giveaways for it, right? One, he wins the bar, right? And he's jumped to win the ball, and he's obviously got his foot up. Now, he's went in to touch the ball with his instep, right? But the boys have obviously volleyed him from underneath. So when people say like stud showing, that's when you go towards the ball, like you lunge at the ball with your studs up. Whereas he's went for the ball with either his toe or his instep, and the boys come from underneath him to catch his studs. So I was listening to Radio Scotland, as I said, on yesterday driving through Edinburgh on Sunday, but I was listening to Saturday's show from 5:30, like as I've said, and Michael Stewart and Tom English were on, and Tom English apparently got in touch with VAR HQ to ask them for their explanation for that. And apparently come back and said that the referee and VAR agreed that Ethan Hamilton made a reckless tackle.
That's I don't think he's from the angle I seen, it looked like almost like the Falkirk boy had went underneath his foot, Ethan Hamilton's foot, and hit him in the thigh. It didn't even look like he'd made contact with Ethan Hamilton's foot. So maybe like from other angles it looks like he's hit his foot, but I think it's harsh, mate. Honestly, dude. He wins the ball. And he's not endangered the Falkirk player. The Falkirk player's the one that's brought his foot into it to try and clear the ball. I think it's harsh.
Well, it was Ross Hardy who was the referee, right? One of the most fucking hopeless referees in Scotland. Promoted far too quickly. He should be doing League 2 football. And you know what, right? I feel sorry for League 2 fans if he was doing it. And as you've seen as well, because you guys got relegated when we got promoted the last time, right? When we were last in the Championship, it was into that season when VAR was first brought in. You guys were in the Premier League, we were in the Championship. You guys got the first kind of version of VAR. The first season it was in use. We got it the year after when you guys got relegated. So we've both seen what the knock-on effect of VAR is in Scotland. And the knock-on effect of VAR in Scotland is that because they need so many more refs now, because they need refs being VARs, they've got far too many refs in the Championship, in League One, in League Two, in the Highland and the Lowland League, who are far too inexperienced and are not ready for that level of football. And some of the refs that we've seen in that Championship when we were still in it were an absolute disgrace of referees. And that boy Hardy, there's been a few times we've had him in the past couple of seasons where he's just no ready. It's like watching him on Saturday. One of the things that I hate most about referees, right, is they're too keen to get involved and give stupid little fouls that they could just ignore. Like, just let the game flow. See, when you watch football, and I know that I've exhausted this so many times, the clock stopping thing, right? But the game is constantly stopping and starting. And that's the reason why I want that in, which I'm not going to get into now, because I've done it that many times. The game stops and starts, stops and starts, stops and starts, because the referees are given stitched fouls for things that are never fouls. Let it play on. And it's like the boy Hardy gets bored that he's not done something in the past couple of minutes, and he's like, free kick. There was one in the second half, right, where Dundee were taking a throw in, kind of in Falkirk's half on the right hand, Dundee's right hand side, right. Ryan Astley, I think it was, throws the ball up the line, and the Falkirk player jumps over Aqua or whoever it was and headers the ball out for another throw in, right. The referee, no one in the ground seen this, by the way. The referee, free kick, and he gestures that somebody's put their arm over the Dundee player's shoulder to win the header, right? Which is, if that's happened, good spot, fair enough, it's a foul, right? 10 minutes later, the same position of the pitch, Dundee take a throw in, the Falkirk centre half or left back or whoever it was, plants two hands on Aqua's shoulders and uses them as leverage to jump over the top of him to win a header, and he doesn't give a free kick. It baffles me, And him and Andrew Dallas, who's on VR, by the way, Andrew Dallas seems to be in VR for every game in Scotland, by the way. How they two could sit there and not give that as a penalty is an absolute disgrace. And I'll tell you another thing, the boy's booked already. The boy's already on a yellow card. So if that's a penalty, he gets sent off. Dundee scored that penalty, which has still obviously got to happen. But if Dundee scored the penalty, they go in 2-0 at half time, and it's a completely different game. Dundee end up losing that match 2-1.
Yeah.
It's an absolute disgrace how it gets to carry on. Every fucking week, these referees who are no good enough, and I know that we've obviously got what we've got, but these referees are no good enough, and every week, time after time after time after time, they're costing teams points. We could get relegated off that. It's a nonsense.
Yeah, it is a really poor decision, mate. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. I think it's a penalty. Simple as. As you were saying with the stop and play so often, if you look at the top refs around the world, mate, they all let the game play. They rarely blow for anything. And they blow for the ones that need to be blown for, but any petty stuff, any wee nudges or anything, they just let them play on because it's not worth stopping the game for. And if you're saying like Hardy, he's obviously of the opposite mindset where it's a non-contact sport, and if you breathe on a boy, it's a foul.
I know. It's, the ones that really, really, really irritate me are the ones where the defender's running back towards his own goal line, and the striker's running behind him, and he kind of holds himself up and then falls to the ground. And the referees give a free kick for that every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the feelings of rage that run through my body when the referees give them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the last one you wanted to touch
yeah.
on. The last one you wanted to touch on was obviously the North End game against St. I've had a watch of them, obviously not for a great angle. You were at the match, so you'll have a better idea. There was the penalty, which it looked like a handball, but who there was the handball that I don't know. And then
I've not a clue, mate.
The one that was offside, the North End scored. I mean, it looked onside to me.
Yeah, I think he's onside. I think, like I say, but Bobby Lynn, I think it was, he took a shot. It took a deflection off the Tranent player, It's landed at the other Dundee North End player's feet, and he slotted it in. He looks in line with the Trinent defence, so I genuinely don't see how he's been called offside. But it just wasn't to be, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh well. Anyway, we'll move on to something a bit more upbeat, which is United are going to Motherwell Wednesday night, I think it is.
Yes.
Full of confidence. What are you reckoning about that? Now, you must be absolutely shitting yourself going to play against Real Madrid.
Mate, I know you're saying this about them, but their forms have been amazing. Obviously, they beat Levy there, but
that's
they
kind of the idea behind the joke, though, is that they're absolutely they're getting all this praise, right? And they've won 2 matches of football. One of them against Livingston, and one of them because the Aberdeen goalie chucked the ball in the net.
But that's true, yeah, that's fair. Motherwell seems to be a team we've struggled against recently. We've won 1 game in 6 against them, lost the other 5. It's just a place, like a team we're struggled to get a result against. I don't know what it is. I think they're quite a physical team, and in the previous seasons we've not had a physical team to compete against that. So I think we have got a more physical team this year, and hopefully we're able to deal with them a bit better. Obviously their game's changed a wee bit. They're a bit more passy, a bit more tiki-taka, it seems like. But they've got a couple of good players. That Elijah Just boy, the New Zealander, he seems to be a pretty good player so far. He's been quite highly praised. But it'll be interesting. I think we're away from home. I think it's at Fir Park, so it'll probably be a tough game midweek underneath the lights. Be difficult. I'm hopeful of a win. If that's the case or not, though, we'll wait to see.
And another thing about that match is that United fans will probably all be in the top tier of that stand, which is just another nonsense. I mean, why Motherwell do that, given that away fans are in the bottom tier of that stand since the dawn of time, but now all of a sudden they're getting put in the top tier of it. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now you watch that game on the telly and you're like, where are all the away fans? And there'll be about 1,500 United fans at the top tier of that stand.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Obviously Dundee didn't have a midweek game because they moved their game against Levy forward. That happened a few weeks ago. But on Saturday we're at Tynecastle, which is going to be a great battle of laughs. Thankfully I'll not be there, which is an absolute godsend. But I can't see much happening for Dundee there, Jack.
I mean, like, you've got 2 results against arguably the 2 biggest clubs in Scotland. You've got 4 points out of that. Who's to say you can't do that against Hearts? Your record against Hearts isn't terrible. You've won 2 of your last 5 against them. I think it's one of the games where it's not going to be a draw. It'll be either a win or a loss. You've got to look back to 2021, the last time there was a draw against Hearts with Dundee. So it'll be a tough game. Obviously, Hearts are flying at the moment, and
that.
Yeah, they are a bit consistent. They are playing consistently, so it'll be a tough game. But there's always a chance that Dundee can go there go there and get a result.
Well, let's hope so. What we'll do is we'll do our score predictions now. Now, on the weekend, our score predictions weren't too bad. You went with a 1-0 United win, which was a 3-1 win, but you obviously got the 1 point for the correct result.
Mm-hmm.
So that moves you on to 1 point. I went to 1-1, I think, so that was 0 for me. On the Dundee game against Falkirk, you went 2-1 Dundee and I went 2-2. So nobody got any points in that one. So that means that you're now on 1 point and I'm on 1 point after 2 match days. I'll put on screen now the results and whatnot. So given that United are playing midweek but not playing at the weekend, and Dundee are not playing it in midweek but are playing at the weekend, we'll use these 2 fixtures as the next 2 for the score predictions. So what are you thinking for Motherwell versus United?
I'm going to go I'm going to go 1-0 United.
Okay. I'm thinking 2 each.
Yeah, I'm torn between a draw, like 1-1 or 1-0, but I'll go 1-0. I'll back my team.
Okay. And for Hearts against Dundee, I'll go first. I'll say 3-0 Hearts.
Yeah, I was going to go 2-0 Hearts.
Okay, so you go 2-0 Hearts, I'll go 3-0 Hearts, and you'll go 1-0 United, and I'll go 2-all. So that's the latest predictions for that. If you want to keep up to date with how that's going, that challenge, I have started a highlights reel on Instagram. They'll obviously be added to the story, but if you want to have a nosy through the highlights reel, that and for the Futbology challenge, they're on the Instagram page. We're now moving on to the Futbology challenge, which for the first time in a while, I think maybe the first time since the Futbology challenge started, we have 3 separate games for all 3 of us. So what I'll do is I'll run through them in order of years. So first was mine, which was in 2012. A 2-0 defeat I have this week, which isn't out of the ordinary. And to be honest with you, it could have been a lot worse. So the 3 games I had for today's date were Dundee 1, Rangers 3. The one that I've got, Aberdeen 2, Dundee 0, or Dundee 0, Ross County 5. So we've got this game, which is a bit of a godsend, to be honest with you. The 27th of October 2012, the scoreline was Aberdeen 2, Dundee 0, as I said. The starting 11 for Aberdeen was Jamie Langfield, Clark Robertson, Russell Anderson, Mark Reynolds, Gavin Ray, Chris Clark, Isaac Osborne, Stephen Hughes, Ryan Fraser, Scott Vernon and Niall McGinn. And the bench was Danny Rogers, Joe Shaughnessy, Gary Naismith, Jordan Brown, Johnny Hayes, Cammy Smith and Josh McGuinness. And the Dundee team was Rob Douglas, Kyle Benedictus, Brian Easton, Declan Gallagher, Gary Irvin, Ryan Conroy, Ian Davidson, Jim McAllister, Kevin McBride, Nicky Riley and Colin Nish. And on the bench was Alex Baird, Matt Lockwood, Neil McGregor, Lewis Toshney, John Baird, Martin Boyle and Stephen Milne. An attendance of 10,425 and the scorers were McGinn on 14 and Hayes on 74. I remember this game because the Aberdeen fans were pelting us with all sorts of missiles over that fence when they scored their goals. But other than that, not too many memories. I think Johnny Hayes scored the free kick from out wide towards the away end, and he kind of put a low ball across the face of the goal and went right into the far post. So yeah, another defeat for me. We'll move on to Jack's game, which was from the 27th of October 2021. Livingston 1, Dundee United 1. An attendance of 2,586. The team line starting off for Livy. David Martindale was the manager. The team lines: Matt Stryek, Nicky Devlin, Jack Fitzwater, Ayo Obalai, Sean Kelly, Ben Williamson, Jason Holt, Scott Pittman, Odin Bailey, Alan Forrest and Bruce Anderson. And the subs: Tom Parks, Keegan Jacobs, Craig Sibbald, Christian Montano, Jack McMillan, Jack Hamilton and Gary Maley. And for United, Tam Courts was the manager. The team lines: Benji Siegrist, Ryan Edwards, Kieran Freeman, Scott McMahon, Charlie Mulgrew, Declan Glass, Ian Harks, Dylan Levitt, Peter Pollitt, Nicky Clark and Almari Niskanen. And on the bench, Jack Newman, Kerr Smith, Logan Chalmers, Giando Fuchs, Florent Hotte, Louis Apere and Max Biamo. The scorers were Nicky Clark OG on 36 and Peter Pollitt on 43. Jack, discuss.
I don't really remember much of this game, surprise, surprise. The reason I remember it is because it was the first game I went to since I moved through to Edinburgh. So I thought teams playing nearby, why not go to it? It must have been a night game because I remember it being pitch black, and United. I think United were pretty poor that day, to be honest with you. Apart from that, I don't really remember much. I remember there being barely any fans, and as you say, there's only 2,500 fans. So I feel like most of them were United fans, to be honest. And I think it was raining that day as well. It was just a miserable day, to be honest. It was not a game I remember too highly. For some reason, one of the Livy players you mentioned, I think he was a winger. There was a bit of intrigue about him because he came up on loan from Birmingham, I want to say, and he turned out to be quite a decent player for Livy, and I think he's done all right down south. I'm not entirely sure, but apart from that, I don't really
potentially
remember
be Odin Bailey, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, it was. Apart from that, I don't really remember much about the game, to be honest with you, apart from the weather.
Oh well, that's an extra point on the board for you, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Martin, his game was from October the 27th, 2023, so the most recent game. Game was Dundee United 6, Arbroath 0. Team lines, manager for United Jim Goodwin. Team line, Jack Walton, Declan Gallagher, Liam Grimshaw, Kevin Holt, Scott McMahon, Ross Docherty, Kai Fotheringham, Glenn Middleton, Craig Sibbald, Louis Moult, Tony Watt. On the bench, Jack Newman, Ollie Denham, Kieran Freeman, Ross Graham, Matthew Cujo, Anim, Declan Glass, Chris Mockery, Jordan Tilson and Craig Moore. And for Arbroath, manager Dick Campbell. Team lines, Derek Gaston, Aaron Steele, Ricky Little, Thomas O'Brien, Scott Stewart, Craig Slater, David Gold, Michael McKenna, Jermaine Hilton, Keenan Dunwald Turan and Jay Bird. And the substitutes, Colin Hamilton, Leighton McIntosh, Keegan Jacobs, Mark Stowe, Jess Norrie, Ali Adams, Joe Baldy and Darren Lyon. There was a crowd of 8,489. The scorers were Moult 7, Docherty 14, Fotheringham 43, Watt 57, Moult 61 and Cujo Anim on 87. Jack, discuss. You're the United supporter here. Martin can't speak.
I don't remember a thing about this, mate.
Well, if you were to look at the programme on Arab Archive, I'm using Arab Archive for my info, there's 4 players, one of them's Declan Gallagher and one of them's Tony Watt, on the front of it, and they're wearing like a plain white shirt that's got like buttons up half of it. I don't know if that's anything to go by.
Yeah, that was. I think that was a third kit. I think that might have been a special kit we had, or was that the kit for the season? I'm not entirely sure. But it's Declan Gallagher, Ross Docherty, Kevin Holt, and Tony Watt in that. Yeah, I think that might have been a special kit we wore. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like in that game, I think Matthew Cujo came on, and I think he tore Arbroath to shreds, to be honest with you. If I'm remembering things correctly, I might have watched the highlights of the game, and I think Cujo did come on and tear Arbroath to bits, and he managed to get a goal at the end as well. But yeah, I don't really remember much from it, but I must say that kit's a belter.
It's obviously the anniversary of something, but I mean, United have had that many anniversaries that it's kind of hard to keep up.
That's true, yeah.
We've had about 400 centenary years since I've started watching football. But, yeah, so is I've not really got the league table to hand yet because I've not been able to make it, but that moves Martin 3 points further ahead in the league. Jack picks up a point and I pick up 0. My goal difference is going to take the baton that I could have if I got the Ross County game. But I remain bottom of the league. We'll move on to the socials that I should have given you at the beginning of the episode. So if you've managed to stay through to this period of the podcast, could you please give our socials a follow? On Twitter, we are at Sandeman ST Pod. That is at Sandeman ST Pod. And on Instagram, we are at the Sandeman Street Pod. At the Sandeman Street Pod. If you're listening on YouTube, could you give our page a subscribe? Please subscribe, that would be great. Like our video, that would be great. And as I say, just tell your friends, tell your family members. If anybody's looking for a new podcast, because there's always people looking for podcasts to listen to, whether it's when they're driving home from work, whether it's when they're out for a run, whatever it is, if you would like to listen to me speak about games I've been to and games that Jack's no been to, then that would be great. We're not going to be here next week. As I said last week, I'm on holiday, so we're going to give Jack the week off. He might even make it to Tannadice in that week off. Would you reckon?
It's hard, mate. I work weekends, so it's difficult to get to games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you live away, mate. I totally understand. Absolutely no problem with that. So we'll not be here next week. We'll obviously have the Futbology Challenge. What I'll do is, we always do that on a Monday, purely because that's when we tend to record. If we record a different day, we'll use the different day, as that's part of the rules. But because next Monday we aren't going to record, I'll just put the stuff on social media or whatever, if I can. If I'm too busy in New York, then I'm too busy in New York, and to be honest with you, I don't make any apologies whatsoever. But no episode next week. We'll be back the week after with the monthly top 5. Hopefully we'll maybe get Martin on so he could take part in that. We've still got to pick our subject. Jack says that it's my turn to pick the subject, so I'm having a think about it to see what one I quite fancy doing. So keep in touch. A week off next week. We'll be back the week after that. Build up to Dundee against Rangers. I can't remember who United are playing that weekend, but we'll have build up to that as well. And then after that, I think it's then international break, and there's a big week for Scotland. It's to hope to get to the World Cup. But anyway, thanks very much for everyone for listening. As I say, follow the socials if you can, and have a great weekend. Cheers.